You may have heard the term call by value or call by reference, or pass by value and pass by reference. So Python calls this call by reference. And we're going to get into this in this video. Just remember that the idea is that when a function's called, the references to objects are passed to the function. If the object is mutable, as in, for example, a list or a dictionary, changes made to the object within the function are reflected outside the function. However, if the object is immutable, as for example a tuple or an integer, the changes made within the function do not affect the original object outside the function. So let's get into this and we'll see exactly what I mean. So here we see a string, of course it's Ferrari. My number is an integer, 19. They both stay intact, and I'm going to show you how. We have a function called add to string. We're going to pass a string, and then we're going to reassign this A string to Lambo and print the value of that string here. And the same thing is going to happen with this multiply the integer by 2. We're going to pass a number, and we're going to take that number and multiply it times 2. And we're going to print the value of that number inside the function as well. So these are the two functions, one for the string, one for the integer. We're going to invoke both of these, right? And we're going to print the value, that is, outside the function. So of course, we print it inside and outside. If we print this, again, this is not debug. I want to see it regular execution here. We're going to see that inside the function, of course, is Lambo. That's what we're saying here. Outside the function is Ferrari because that's what it was here. So outside the function, that's what we're going to print. There are two different ones. Lambo inside, Ferrari outside. Inside the function is 38, outside the function is 19, and we know it's 19 because it's outside in the outer scope. Inside the function, the scope will be 38. And so that's what we mean by pass by value. When that object is immutable, Python makes a copy and deals with it in that scope. What scope? Well, that function scope. And then it will go out to the outer scope, and that's a completely different value. So that's pass by value. How about pass by reference? Let's see an example of this. So here we have a list with 10, 20, 30, and 40. These are the integers contained in the list. We have an add more function. We're going to pass a list. This is going to be a reference, right? This is going to be a memory address, a pointer, if you will, to this list. So what happens is we invoke that function add more, we pass my list, which is in line 1. A list is passed accepted as a parameter. A list, then we append 50, and we print the value of the list inside the function, and we print the value of the list outside the function. What happens is, if we run this, we'll see that they're both exactly the same. Inside the function, after we add or append 50, we get the 50 added to the end, right? Appended to the end. Outside the function, we print that A list again, and that list is not 10, 20, 30, and 40. It is 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. So that's the main difference between passing by reference, meaning whatever you pass as a reference to the function, that function will modify possibly that variable, and whatever it did to that variable inside the function, well, that gets reflected outside the function. So that's important. Why? Because you could have some bugs introduced if you think one way and it's actually doing the other. So keep that in mind. Now, let me show you the last case that I wanted to show you. And this is, I think, why Python gets the call by reference term. And in this case, we have a list 10, 20, 30, and 40. We're going to call add more with my list, similar to the previous example. Here, we're not going to just append to the A list. We're going to reassign the A list, which was the parameter here, and we're going to make it equal to some new list. Even though it contains 10, 20, 30, and 40, it's a new list because it contains 50. It's just a different list. Even if it was like this, by the way, it would be still a different list. So we're going to print the contents of the list inside the function. We're going to print the contents of the list outside the function. And just to show you, as you can imagine, this is going to be two different lists. Inside the function, we have the one with the 50, containing the 50. Outside the function, we have the original 10, 20, 30, and 40. Again, it's because of this assignment. So call by assignment, this is what's happening. We're passing the list, and Python's giving us this ability to reassign and just create the new object, right? By just assigning that parameter to something else. And so this is the beauty of it, because if you want to make sure it's not using the same reference, just reassign it. And if you want it to use the same list, well, then you know you can depend on the reference. Now, just to note that if you don't do this, right? If you don't do this, that like append, you know it would use the reference. So I'm hoping this makes sense. I hope this was helpful. Thank you.